Yeah, good morning, everyone. So let me discuss about the 5G and like LTE protocol development and testing training program. Okay. So before that, I would like to introduce myself and my team to you. So basically, I am Satya. So I am having 24 plus years of experience in telecom domain, mainly like telecom software development and testing and product development domain. So I work with many companies, like initially started with Midas Communication with IIT Chennai, and then basically worked with Converge Labs, GCL Devices, Mobile Internet Limited, Alcatel Lucent. So worked on various projects related to protocol development, starting from like WLL, and then basically we started from 2G, 2.5G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. So currently, like we are focusing on 5G protocol development testing. So when we say 5G protocol development testing, so our area of focus is more on a 5G user equipment protocol stack, then 5G ORAN and 5G core development testing. Okay. So if you see this training program, so when we talk about 5G protocol development and testing, so we have like three options. Okay, so let me just explain you with a small PowerPoint paint diagram. So when we say we have any device, right? So for example, this is my device, and how this device actually interacts with my network. Okay. Just a minute. Can you see now? Screen is visible?
Yes.
So if you talk about any device, so for example, this is my user equipment and this is my base station. Okay. So what is basically a protocol? So protocol is nothing but set of rules. Okay. So for example, this device is there. So whenever actually we power on this device, so it has to like synchronize with my base station. Okay. So for example, this is my user equipment. Okay. Or in simple language, mobile terminal. So, and then basically this is my, let's say, radio access network. When we say radio access network, basically it is the endpoint of the radio from where actually we actually are connected to the main network. So this is like, for example, my core network. And then core is basically connected to my internet domain or like IMS VoLTE domain. So we have two connectivity here with the core. So one is like your packet data network. So this is any internet domain. So for example, it can be connected to any content delivery network. So if you are browsing like any OTT channel, okay, so for example, like Netflix or Amazon or any OTT, so it is actually hosted on CDN. So for example, like if you are actually doing some shopping with Amazon, or like if you are actually accessing Facebook or like anything like Skype, so these are all hosted on different servers or content delivery networks. So these are your servers, CDNs. So they are connected over IP, and this is connected to your packet data network. Okay. And then basically this is connected to my core network, and my core network is also connected with my voice over IP based VoLTE services and IMS network. Okay. So IMS network is used to provide like VoLTE services. So it is an external network, so which is actually like working on IMS specification and standard, and then basically it is hosting the VoLTE application server, and it provides us voice over IP based like voice services. So if you are actually making any voice call, so it is all voice over IP call, so which is actually handled by a VoLTE and IMS server. Okay. And if you see this network, so this is connected with my core. Okay. And if you talk about core, so it is having mainly like your, when we are talking about 4G network, it is having an MME, which is actually terminating your session management and mobility management messages. Then we have like S gateway and PDN gateway. So this is for my user plane. So all my control plane traffic goes towards MME. So if you talk about this, so this is my mobility management entity MME, and then we have SDN. This is your S gateway. So this is your serving gateway, and then we have the PDN gateway, P gateway, so which is connected to my external network. Okay, so all my user traffic will go to this, all my control plane traffic will go to this. Okay, and then further, like we have other entities like we have PCRF. Okay, so this is another entity, policy control entity. So it depends, it decides, like for example, like if you are a subscriber who has 1 GB connectivity per day. So this will be actually, those policies will be defined at HSS, and that will be transferred to your PCRF, and then PCRF will enforce those policies on P gateway through an entity called PCEF. So which is actually part of your P gateway. So here all the policies are enforced. Okay. So this is how actually it will work. And then we have some other entities, like we have charging gateways, then we have like tsunami warning systems. Okay, we have monitoring systems, OMS, OSS. So all these things are there. So which are actually, which constitutes my core network. Okay. And coming back to like the protocol. So what is my protocol? So protocol is basically the set of rules. So as we are saying that we have different entities. Okay. So how they are going to talk. Okay. So these are based on certain protocols. So for example, this is this guy and this guy. So they can talk in English. Okay. So they will talk in English. So if this interface is French, so they will talk in French. If this interface is Spanish, so they will talk in Spanish. Okay. So this is actually well defined, and this definition is done by your CGPP. So it's a international body, so which defines what all protocols should be there. Okay. And when we say protocols, so we have like you must have studied OSI layer. Okay. So we have L1. So on top of that we have L2, layer 2. On top of that we have L3. Okay. So these layers are there. Okay, so on top of that we have application layers. So applications, when we say, so in our mobile device, so we can have various applications. So for example, if you are sending a mail, so that's an application. If you are browsing your like Netflix, okay, so that is an application. Okay, so all like data browsers and everything. So that actually the applications are the programs which actually generates internet traffic. Okay, and how we are going to send internet traffic, so that we are going to use layer 3, layer 2, and then layer 1, and on top of, after layer 1 it will be sent on the physical resources on the physical layer. Okay, so here we will understand like how actually we have to code layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 protocols. Okay, so these are standard. So and we have defined for every technology we have different set of protocols. So when we say like in our like LTE, so on top of layer 1, so we have like MAC layer. Okay, so MAC layer actually forms your transport block. On top of that we have RLC layer, radio link control layer. So radio link control layer, what it does, so it, whenever actually we are getting traffic, we have different type of traffic, signaling traffic, data traffic, so it will map on the like MAC, medium access control. Okay, so on top of that we have packet data convergence protocol. So this is the protocol which is having interface towards application layer and like RRC. So on top of that we have RRC layer, and then application layer. Application layer is talking directly to your PDCP. So on top of that we have non-access datum protocols. So non-access datum is mainly responsible for your session management and mobility management. So what is session management? So whenever actually you are browsing, okay, so you have to create a session. Okay, so whenever actually you studied in your school also, right? So you are having 8 periods. So whenever you enter into English class, so that is a session. Okay, so that will last for your say 35 minutes or 40 minutes. So here also like here in like when we are making a 4G like data call, okay, so we are creating sessions. So that is actually handled through session management. And mobility management, so it is like basically responsible for managing the like location. So for example, like you are a UE, so today, like for example, if you morning get up, you actually are connected to a one radio access network. So for example, actually you start your day and you move to your office. Okay, so then basically you will be connected to this base station. Okay, so you have moved to different location. Similarly, you can move to different city, different country, and we have different mobility management procedures, so which actually work in backend. Okay, so we have to track the mobility of the user. So so this is a brief about like our 4G network. Similarly, like when we talk about 5G network, so there are certain changes in the core network protocol. There are certain changes in the radio access network layer protocol, and how actually we are going to implement. Okay, so for example, in like LTE, we have radio access network, which is like fully physical networks. So in 5G, we are having radio access network, which is getting virtualized. So when we say virtualized, so that means our network components or network protocols are hosted on some data center as a virtual network function. So my colleague Adarsh is there, so he has also joined the call. So he will explain you actually how we create the virtual network functions. Okay. So here, if you see, like this is an LTE network. So for example, this is my LTE network with LTE protocol support, and then we can also have 5G network, which is getting deployed nowadays. So in current scenario, what we can have, like we can have both LTE and 5G, and then this LTE network will be mainly used for your control plane traffic. Okay, what is control plane traffic? Okay, so for example, you book an Ola cab or Uber cab. So before booking the cab, like before entering into the cab, so you have to establish a link between you and Uber. So you request for a cab, so it will get the location, then it will page to all the drivers, and then basically a car will be booked. So these are actually all your control things. So you are actually, the mechanism is to allocate resources to you, allocate a cab to you. So once you get a car or once you get a cab, so that is allocated to you, and whenever actually it is coming to your place, then you actually get inside the car. So that is your user plane. So the actual data goes after that. So before sending the actual data, so you have to get the resources. So that entire operation is called control plane traffic. So here also, like whenever actually power on, connect with your network, move to another network. So these are all control information. So whenever actually we talk about 5G, so in 5G we have two modes, like non-standalone and standalone. Okay, so when we say non-standalone, that means your control traffic will be handled by LTE, and your user plane traffic or data traffic will be handled by your 5G, and then basically this will be connected to your network. Okay, so for example, this is your S gateway, so this is your LTE network, so all your traffic will come all the way from here, and also there will be connectivity between these two. Okay, so this is how actually new non-standalone 5G will happen. Okay, so that everything we will explain you during the training step by step. Okay, so this is just an introduction session. So I'm just giving a brief about all this like network architecture. So then if you can see, like we have three training options. Okay, so when you talk about network protocols, okay, so first thing is like this, all these protocols are defined by 3GPP. So here when we say develop, okay, so that means you have to take this specification and you have to write code and then develop these protocols. Okay, so this development can be for UE, this development can be for radio access network, this development can be for code. Okay, so here we have three courses. One is like your protocol development only. You can see here we are just telling you how to develop a 4G or 5G protocol. Then we have one module which is how to test it. So for example, this protocol is already developed, how to test it, whether this protocol is working as per your rule or not. Okay, so for example, just take that example of Uber cab. So if you have booked an Uber cab, so you are getting a response, so you have to test it whether everything is happening properly within your time frame, or it may happen that it can have some 30 minutes delay, so no user will be interested. Okay, so same thing happens here. We have to check all the control plane traffic, user plane traffic, everything we have to test it whether it is as per specification or not. So that will be done by your protocol testing module. So after doing this protocol testing, you will be able to get a job, so where actually you will be testing these protocols, testing these equipments. Okay, so then basically if you do the development, training. So you will get a job where actually you will be doing the development part. And then basically we have a combined option. Okay. So in combined option, you will be able to develop that protocol, you will be able to test that protocol, and then you will be able to deploy that protocol. So for example, if you are having a Mac layer, so this is for example my Mac layer software. Okay. So then first you have to develop, then you have to test, and then third thing is you have to deploy it. How you will going to deploy it? So deploy is, for example, I tell you that you have to deploy it on UE. So you will be deploying here. So if I tell you you have to deploy it on RAN, so you have to deploy it here. So this is your deployment. Okay. So now coming back to the training modules. So if you see, so let me explain you the combined one because it covers everything. Okay. So first part is like we will explain you about the technology. So we will explain you what is LTE technology. Okay, what are the various layers. So here we have given an introduction. So in details we will tell you like what is the role of physical layer, how physical layer works, how frame structure is there. Okay, so everything in details about the physical layer. So all how actually all our channels are processed, like downlink channel, uplink channel, okay, paging channel, then we have control channels, traffic channel, how it is processed by my physical layer. So that will be explained in my physical layer. So then we will explain you about the MAC layer in details. Then we will explain you about the RLC layer, PDCP layer, then RRC layer, and then your NAS layer. So all these protocols will be explained in details. And then basically we will explain about different interfaces. Like we have like RAN and like core S1 interface, then RAN to RAN X2 interface. So all this interface like S1 interface, X2 interface, S5 interface, S10 interface. So what are these interfaces? So like there are different protocols like GTP is there. So what is the role of GTP? How gateway tunneling protocol happens? So end-to-end signaling with all the nodes. Okay, so we'll explain you. So for example, there are interfaces like between S here. So S gateway and this. So how it works. Okay. So we will explain you all these interfaces. So then basically if you see call scenarios. So next step is like once you understand the interfaces, protocols, so they actually then form the call scenario. Call scenario is something like your exchange of messages. For example, if you power on your device, what are the messages which will be exchanged between UE and base station to do an uplink downlink synchronization. Okay, first step will be you will be doing the downlink synchronization, then you will be doing the cell selection. Okay, similarly like you will be doing the uplink synchronization if you want to send something. Okay, so for example like here it has to send some data or it has to send some message. So what it will do an uplink synchronization. So with that uplink synchronization, so like the base station will be able to receive the resources which are actually shared by the UE. Okay, so all these are part of your call scenarios. Okay, so we will explain you about the various call scenarios, how a RRC connection is established, how a LT random access procedure happens. Okay, how your contention resolution happens. Like when we talk about like random access, we have contention based, non-contention based. So we'll explain you. Then basically how your attach procedure happens, how your default bearers are set up, how your dedicated bearers are set up. Okay, so all these are your call scenarios. So once you actually understand this call scenario, so basically like for example, if you work in protocol development and I ask you like you have to work on paging procedure. Okay, so paging will be implemented at RRC and there will be a specific procedure. So that is like exchange of messages. So that is called call scenario. Okay. So next, like once you understand 4G in detail, so then we will explain you about the 5G because like when we talk about like 3GPP, so release 8 to release 14, it is all about LTE. Okay. So then basically it started with release 15 to now currently 18 and 19 is also work is going on. So currently if you see these are 15 is stabilized version and getting deployed. Some companies are working on 16, then 17 and 18, 19. 19 will be coming somewhere around 2025, 26. So it is having time. Okay. So this is all about your 5G specifications. Okay. So we will understand what are the role of 3GPP, what are the various specification when we talk about 5G, what are the changes which are there. So actually like 5G is not a new technology, but an enhancement of 4G technology. So we were doing something, but now we have to do it in a better way. So that's how actually your 5G came into picture. Okay. So we will understand what is 5G technology, what are the various air interface and network architecture. So there are certain changes. So when we talk about like core network, so we have different entities. So we have, instead of like S gateway, MME, PCRF, so we have like different entities like AMF, SMF, okay, UPF. So those are your 5G entities. So we'll explain you everything in detail, and then basically like we have like all the 5G interfaces and protocols. So there are certain changes. So in 5G protocols, so 4G protocols are there. So then similarly there will be set of 5G protocols. So if you talk about 5G protocols, so more or less they will be same here, but certain changes will be there. And then there is a additional protocol which is like SDAP protocol. So this is mainly for your quality of service management. Okay. So this is required as like when we talk about 5G, we have various services like EMBB, enhanced mobile broadband. So it talks about like 1 to 10 Gbps data. Okay. So then we have MMTC, massive machine type communication. Okay. So here actually it is talking about like IoT devices. So it is for narrowband IoT applications. Then we have URLLC, ultra reliable low latency communication application. So which promises you for 1 millisecond, within 1 millisecond you will be able to exchange your information. Okay, so mainly for your connected car, okay, so or autonomous vehicles. So you need connectivity, very fast connectivity and very reliable connectivity. And then basically your automated factories, okay. So where actually we are talking about industrial IoT. So there is a lot of applications, lot of use cases, things are happening in a very fast manner, and we are actually virtualizing the like core network, virtualizing the RAN part. So a lot of work is going on. Then we are talking about V2X communication, vehicle to like pedestal, vehicle to infrastructure. So a lot has been defined. We are interacting with satellite communication. We are interacting with like broadcast servers. So when you talk about 5G, so this has tremendous scope. Okay, and it is going to get matured in another 5 to 10 years. And there will be a lot of work in 5G. So it is just a beginning. When we talk about 5G, it's just a beginning. It's, you can say whatever you're going to see in next 1 year, it is just the 5%. So 95% is still to come. So those are under specification, like under development. And if you go to 3GPP website, so you can go to www.3gpp.org. So you can check out what all work is happening, by what time they will be coming. So it's a huge amount of work. Okay, and that like for completing this type of activities, there is a requirement for huge number of developers, huge number of testers, deployment engineers, and all. Okay, so that is another part of story. So before that, like we will understand about the modules. So we have seen like technology, we are going to understand in details. So when you go for interview, so 30 to 35% like questions will be asked on technology. Okay. So next is your development part. Once you have understood the technology, like you have to do this. So for example, like you have to send a message. Now you have to code it, how to send a message. So to send a message, what you have to do, you have to fill an array, write the like what all information you want to put in that array, and then you have to send it. So send, you can do it by what? You can send by socket programming. Okay, you can write to some code. So this is one of the ways. Then we have different type of ways to do the programming. So we will explain from very scratch level. So when you actually talk about development, so for example, here you want to start your development, right? So for example, Mac layer, how to start the development. So you should know on what platform you have to develop. Okay, so here all the like development will be done on Unix. So you have to understand a bit on Unix. So we will explain about the operating system concepts, or you can say like development platform concepts. Okay, so here we will tell how to like use the operating system, how to use system call, what are system calls. Okay, so all these things are part of your operating system fundamentals or platform basics. So once we understand, then we will start with basic C programming. So as we have seen, like we have been delivering this training for last 20 years, and we have seen that most of our trainees who are coming to us for training, they're in the range of 5 to 15-year experience. Okay, and they are already working professionals. And like when we talk about like programming, so either they have left during the college, and even if they have studied in the college, so basics is only they have done. So here you don't have to bother about anything about your past that you don't know about, like programming, or you have not done any programming earlier. So here we will start everything from scratch. So we will first program will be printf hello world. So if you write a printf hello world, and if you get a hello world output, so that will give you tremendous amount of confidence in you. Okay, so that's the first step. So if, even if you want to go to Mount Everest, right? So you have to actually enter the first step. Okay, so here also same thing. So once you take the first step, so rest of the step easily you will be able to cover. Okay, so one by one, one by one, one by one, we will explain you. So what is, like, once you compile the first program, then we will tell what is variables. Okay, how many types of variables are there, how to use the variables. Then we will understand about the structures. Then how to operate, like for example, add, multiply, division. Okay, then bitwise operation, loops, arrays, functions, pointers. Slowly, 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 step by step. First step, second step, third step, fourth step. We will go on. Okay, so you don't have to worry. So only thing is, like, you have to spend some time in doing the coding. Okay, so you cannot learn coding by just reading it. Okay, so to, just like it is just like you're swimming, so you cannot actually read a book and swim. So you have to get down into water. So similarly, if you want to study programming, if you want to do programming, so you have to install the development setup and you have to start writing some small code. You will get some error. So initially you will get error, you will get some compilation error, or you will get some, like, coding error, anything you can get. So you don't have to dishearten. You have to continuously try, and slowly you will see that after 1 week, 2 week, there will be tremendous progress. So once you are able to solve small problems, so we will give you a lot of, like, assignments during the training, so that you will have to solve those assignments. Okay, so it is totally up to you how you take up the assignments. There are two options: you can do it, or you don't do it. So if you do it, definitely you will get the success, because that programming which we are going to, like, give you as assignment, so those are something, like, which can be asked in interview questions. Okay, so this is about basic C programming. Once you complete the basic C programming, so we will explain you about the advanced C programming. So advanced C, we will explain you data structure programming, like linked list, circular linked list, double linked list, stacks, queues, binary trees, hash table. Okay, so these are on and off used during the professional development environment. And then basically Unix system programming, like how to work with, like, signals. Okay, how to work with pipes, we have shared memory, threads, multi-threading, thread synchronization, socket programming. All these are part of your system programming. System programming is how to work with the platform. Okay, so Unix is providing us a lot of APIs, system calls. So you have to use this. So for example, like file open, f open. Okay, f close the file descriptor. So these are the system calls. So Unix allows us to create threads. Okay, so for that we have command pthread create. So you have to understand all these things. Okay, so we will explain you step by step. You don't have to worry. Okay, so then once you understand the basic and advanced C programming, and when you are planning to enter into industry, so you have to understand how to do optimized coding. Okay, so one is, driving. Okay, second thing is how to optimize your driving skills. Okay, so you should be able to drive in any condition. Okay, so this is something like that. Here, by this time you will be having a lot of knowledge about driving. So here you will learn how to follow the best practices, so that you can actually end up producing less errors. Okay, so then you have to understand some software engineering concepts and development tools. So when you actually do some development, so you have to understand different tools. Okay, like version control, bug tracking, software debugging, build and release management. So these are different tools which are there. Like for example, for version control, we have CVS, we have SVN. So for bug tracking, we have Bugzilla. Okay, so for software debugging, we have GDB, DDD, Valgrind. For build and release management, we have like Makefiles. So this is about development tools. So then we enter into testing. So here we have to learn the Python scripting. Okay, so Python. So for example, as we have seen, like this is my Mac layer. So I have to test it. So for that, like I cannot bring the entire base station in my company or like development setup. So I have to simulate a base station. So that will be written in Python. So this will generate some messages, this, and it will actually receive some messages which are sent from the UE actual code. So this is called network simulator. Okay, and then it will test it, and it will also, you can also analyze. So for example, here if you want to sniff this packet, so you can analyze what messages are going, what messages are receiving. Okay, so that is your packet analyzer come protocol. You can also say like protocol analyzer. Okay, so here we will tell you how to write a protocol analyzer. Okay, and this tool is called NEXP5, which is based on Python. So here actually you can work on any release, like 14, release 15, release 16. You can implement any test case from any layer. Okay, so that is the flexible, and this is open source. you can install it in your laptop or PC. Okay, so this is very flexible and it's based on like Python, and it can be deployed on Unix on any system. Okay, so there is no dependency, no hardware dependency. So it's a software piece of program. So we'll tell you how to do protocol testing through this analyzer. So next is like your protocol deployment modules, in which like we are going to understand SDN and NFV. So these are used for deployment. So my colleague Adarsh is there. In the next video, we will explain you about the protocol deployment, how it is done on the like core side or RAN side. So in this video, we are going to understand about the module. In the next video, he will explain you. Okay, so when you talk about like protocol deployment, so protocol deployment is also done on the UE. So it's very simple. For example, this is my chipset on the UE. So I will deploy this, or I will burn this software on this chipset. Okay. So this is my deployment on UE, so which is very straightforward. But when we actually understand, when we have to understand the deployment on core, so you have to understand the SDN and NFV architecture. So in the next video, we will explain. So once you understand the development, testing, and deployment, okay. So next is basically what your protocol project module. Okay. So in the project module, what we will do, we will take up any feature. So from 4G or 5G, we have different features. Okay. So we will take up any feature. So for example, paging request, okay, or RRC connection procedure, or like security mode command procedures from like NAS. So we will assign you some project. You have to go through the 3GPP documents. Okay. So 3GPP documents means like the specifications. So we will share the specifications with you, and then you have to go through them. You have to convert those into requirement analysis documents. So then after that, you have to do the high level design, and then you have to write the protocols in C. Okay. So all this, before this, you will be having complete knowledge on how to write a protocol. Okay. So that you will be using. And then basically you will be doing that testing with Python analyzer, Python based protocol analyzer. Okay. And then you can do the log analysis to find out whether there is an error. So for example, if you are sending a page request, so there are two type of response. Like you can have page response, which is positive, or a page response, which is negative. Okay. So you can test it. What is my result? Okay. For every test case. So that is part of my log analysis part and protocol testing. So this covers our complete like training modules on like 4G and 5G. So once you do this, like understand this technology development and testing, and you do the live project, so then you are basically ready for industrial assignments. So after this, your placement process will start. So in the placement process, what we do, so there is step by step, we will help you first, like you are well versed with technology. That means 50% or 70% work you have already done. So only thing is like you have to go there and you have to like crack the interviews, and interviews will be, everything will be from whatever we are going to teach, because we are like providing this training for last 20 years, and we know like what people are going to ask. Okay. So in interviews, you have to first, we will tell you like what are your like interview questions, and then basically like we will also help you in preparing CV. We will also tell you about like different job requirements. Actually, there are two things, like jobs can come from any source. Okay, we can also help you, and you will directly get calls also. Okay, so we are actually, as we are 20-year-old company, so we get requirement from different companies. Like we recently got requirement from Reliance Jio that we need ORAN engineers. Then we recently got from Tata also. So they are looking for packet code testers. So we on continuous basis, so every month we get 2 to 3 requirements. So these requirements basically we will share with those trainees who are in the project phase, and then you can apply. And we will also tell you how to build a CV, how to mention your projects, how to crack the interviews. And after every interview round, we will also discuss with you like what was your interview questions. Okay, so whether your interview questions were right or not, even if you failed in some of the like questions, so you can actually clear it in the next round. So that's how the complete like placement process will happen. Okay. And like there are many opportunities. If you just search in naukri.com for 4G or 5G development, will be getting like more than like 50-60 jobs openings in different companies are there. So there is no problem of opportunities. A lot of opportunities is there. Only thing is some people they apply it also by reading some like YouTube videos, or like doing some theoretical courses, which is of no use. So if you want to crack actual interviews, you have to properly build all like your skill sets in development, testing, technology. You have to remove all the gaps. Okay. Once you remove the gaps, you are fit for industry. Okay, so that you have to understand. Okay, so for any other query, so like our numbers are mentioned here, so you can check it out. So you can call me on this number. Okay, and this is our email ID and website. You can check it out in our website. So this is from my end. So my colleague, Mr. Adarsh, is there. So he will explain you in the next demo. So that is part 2 of this demo session. He will explain you about the practical part, like how actually when we talk about a development interface or testing interface, how to write it, how it is written. Then basically he will explain you how to deploy the things. Okay, so on an SDN environment or an NFV environment. Okay, so that is like our part 2. So after viewing this, definitely you go for watching this second part. Thank you everyone and all the best to you. Thank you. Bye bye.